Tell your /k/related innawoods spooky experiences. A skinwalker took the form of a pear tree on time when I was in a woods. He deflected my shot. I was about to take a monster buck with my grandpa's Ithaca Model 37, then the skinwalker used his pear limb to block it. Damn skinwalkers. Be me. October 2013. Hiking the Weminuchi Wilderness with some friends and GF at the time. We're going in for 14 days. Dream hike. Entering Chicago Basin to do some peaks. Greater than 2 am. Oh shit, gotta poo. First night always has me dropping Indian rope tricks. Walk with headlamp, trowel, GP 100, and TP about 100 feet from camp. Find felled tree to sit on. Perfect. Pitch black, overcast, no moon or stars. After dropping loaf and about to wipe out the Kling 1 with my Captain Kirk TP, hear a loud snap directly behind me. Swivel head around and see the front half of the biggest freaking cougar I've ever seen, out from behind some bushes, with its paw on a broken branch. It's just standing there perfectly still looking at me. Reach into Long John's to fish out Ruger. Turn back, it's gone. Put my back to a tree and my head is farting every direction to catch a glimpse of it while I'm trying to shimmy up my Long Johns. Sprint back to camp with my headlamp darting in all directions. Get back to camp and wake everyone up, tell them what I saw. GF thinks it's hilarious. Friends a little pissed and think I'm full of crap, but Anon, cougars aren't this high this time of year. Next day hike past my gargantuan loaf and I point out the paw prints some 30 feet behind where I was. They shrug and say it must have followed us into the valley. Scariest 2 minutes of my life. Not cryptid, but there you go. Had to wash my leggings by hand in a creek at our next camp because I did have some tire marks because I never wiped and then ran. Be in a woods on Night Land Nav looking for last point. High up on the side of a mountain in 2 feet of snow. Looking for a gay little chem light. My bat buddy some shit in the snow making noise. Sounds like a very quiet squealing tire. Walk over and see blood on the ground everywhere. It's a freaking whitetail. Its throat is ripped open, one of its back legs are missing, and it's literally been ripped in half. Its rear half is several feet away and its guts are spilled out and steaming, but somehow it's still breathing. The thing is still steaming and rolling its head on the ground making little squawks. Well, we can't let it suffer. Buddy always carries a huge knife. He holds its legs and head back while I cut its throat open. The thing wriggles around for a few seconds and dies. Shit, man. There haven't ever been anything more than coyotes reported around this area, but coyotes probably couldn't have ripped a freaking deer in half, in what must have been a short window of time from it attacking the deer to us finding it. We decide to nope out since we're already running out of time. Start moving down to the starting point, looking behind us the whole time. Look behind us every couple dozen meters. We have nods on so we can see pretty well. See something back up behind us. I kid you not, I look back and I see more than a dozen coyotes walking back up the draw. It feels like I'm looking at a freaking Russian wolf pack from World War II not 50 meters from us on the open ground. We hoof it the rest of the way back. Never found the chem light, but we did pass. Last day of muzzle loader deer season. Load up smoke pole and hit woods an hour and a half before sun up. Making my way through field, can barely see crap. Suddenly low feline growling to my right. Estimate 40 yards away. Bobcat is now extremely angry kitty and is now making that cat noise you hear when cats fight but way louder. Getting closer and is hissing and growling now. Still can't see it. Lizard brain activates. Brain says growl back pussy, don't be a bitch. Begin growling like a freaking autist into the darkness, as intimidating as I can. Angry cat noises immediately stop. Haul ass to tree stand and question why I just growled at pissed off bobcat in the pitch dark. Be me, 19 years old. Live in woods, work nights. Informed that dogs are hitting on something in the yard. Start sweeping yard every night with flashlight duct taped to shotgun. Every morning my dad undoes the duct tape and carries his bedside revolver out with the dogs. After a few days, feel lazy, grab flashlight and obtain croquet mallet from junk pile out back door. Sweep yard, didn't think about making noise to spook anything. Assumed it was a coyote or a deer anyways. Go to back of yard where trail leads down into ravine. Face to face with bobcat, as surprised as I am. WTF do we do? JPG. It reacts first and starts that low growl. So I raise my white trash Mjolnir and bring it down straight on the bobcat's head. We stare at each other for another second, not sure where to go from here. I raise the croquet mallet aloft again. Bobcat gets the hint, fails to follow trail, leaps off 20 feet drop off. Thrashing brush fades into the distance. Wait half an hour before letting dogs out so the trail will be cold. It could take the dogs 3 or 4 hours to come back in from the woods, and I didn't want to stay up for that shit. We had 2 boxers, 2 Dobermans, and a Rottweiler for reference so they could handle themselves. It's just a pain staying up waiting for them to come back home, calling every 15 minutes. I assume it thought the dirt hollow at the back of the yard would be invisible to me and didn't know what to do when I walked right up to it. When I was in high school, I went to one of those underage drinking parties out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, the road into the place had such deep ruts in it, my car bottomed out, so I had to walk in about 1.5 miles in the dark. Unfortunately, I got the brilliant idea to eat 1/8 of mushrooms on the ride to the place. Well, that turned out to be a mistake, because partway through my hike, the visuals kicked in so hard, I was completely blind. Imagine trying to walk in the dark with a VR headset on, and seeing nothing but bright lights and random patterns. Then add in the heightened panic of being lost. I have no idea how I finally got to the party. I just sort of snapped out of a trance, and found myself about 20 yards from everybody. That could have ended pretty badly, and you would have thought I would have learned my lesson, but nope, I did it again in a state park with my girlfriend. Nighttime again, and this time, we saw some edgelords in hooded robes, and nearly died from panic. That was the last time either of us did any drugs. Be me, 16-year-old high schooler. 2015. Me and 2 friends are making a movie for a contest. Huge reward and have a huge crush on the teacher. She even let us borrow her camera. We have no idea and we decide to make a Blair Witch Project style movie. We decide to camp deep in the forest and film some scene next night. We live in the rural south and so my friends and I know the woods. We pack our bag with everything needed to camp and some beers. It's 6 p.m. when we arrive, we left at 3 p.m. When we finally have our camp ready it's 7 p.m. After drinking some beers and filming some scenes, one of my friends tell us he have something cool. Probably weed but met. The mad lad pull out a 357. He tells us that he took it from his father and he has 6 bullets. We want to do a Russian roulette but we shoot can, instead of our head. Fun time, the loser will shoot the last scene. Our friend pack the gun, there is 2 bullets left. 10 p.m. we decide to film a scene, where the cameraman is hiding, and filming us like he is the monster. Me and gun guy are walking on the path while the other guy is hiding and filming. We do the scene but the guy is not coming back. Being extremely dumb and a bit drunk, we think he is trying to scare us and we go back to camp. It's now midnight and he is not back. Being less drunk and really feeling bad for him, we start to look for him in the forest. We walk for 30 minutes and down by the side of the path there is something making light. It's the camera. It's busted and only the starting blue screen is working. We are scared that he hurt himself or fell to his death and we call him at least 10 times on his phone but no answer. Walking back to camp we see someone sitting next to the campfire right next to our friend. Hearth pumping like crazy, our gun guy look extremely pale and scared, he is shivering. We are close enough to see them from the wood, but they can't. The weird person is staring at our friend without making noise and our friend face look like it's made of wax, no expression. Gun guy tell me that it's probably a hobo and we should approach them with caution. We are close to the guy when suddenly a weird smell of iron fill my nose. We get even closer and I feel like my stomach is collapsing on itself from the stress and smell. Gun guy tell the guy to piss off, we are camping and we want to be alone. The stranger grab our friend that was sitting there by the arm and start to walk in the forest. Our friend is not fighting or anything and start to follow him. Gun guy pull out the gun and tell the stranger to get the hell away. The stranger eyes are almost red and he has a patchy beard, he look like he is sizing us. Gun guy shoot right next to the stranger that start to sprint with our friend in the forest. Gun guy shoot again and we see the stranger drop our friend and run in the forest. Little bit of blood on my friend parka. He is still waxy and keep mumbling to himself about the scene and class. We are extremely anxious but we can't leave now. It's 5 p.m. when the sun start to shine and we run to my car. When we arrive my friend collapse and sleep for the 3-hour drive back. He only remember drinking and talking with someone. But not what and why. Gun guy is going crazy saying that we shot a hobo and they will find the gun and arrest him. We get to class the next day and I'm getting ready to get chewed out by my favorite teacher. She is extremely angry and take the camera saying that she is not mad at me, but just really sad that we did not took care of her camera. We probably almost got abused by a junkie but saved by the magic of a crazy teen with a fun. First time out camping alone and with my battle buddy I awoke to him growling at a bunch of coyotes up on the hill looking down at us. Poor guy stayed up all night keeping watch. Aw, that's a good boy. So northern Canada is pretty much unexplored wasteland. The only time it was mapped was way back in the colonial era because nobody wants to be up there because there's absolutely nothing up there. Roving bands of Wendigos or some other unknown abomination would absolutely not surprise me, because the natives always talked about how there used to be more tribes, but those unknown tribes lost contact eventually after they ended up isolating themselves in the north and in the mountains. I imagine this is a similar case in places like Siberia or far eastern Russia. Carry a gun in the wild. Florida fag. Own 50 acres of swamp. Kill pythons for that dank DOA bounty money. Trudging through swamp. Wear ghillie because it's warm and keeps skeeters from biting the shit out of me. Here talking. Castle Doctrine mode activated. Creep up on them. Pull M9A3 because spaghetti gang. Shrek voice, what are ya doing in ma swamp? They shit bricks and surrender. Escorted them to the edge of my property. Let them go. I am the skunk ape. Hunt on deer lease in Texas. Hunting for boar in a dense hardwood bottom. Hunting with open-sighted washer 10 AK while in tree stand. Brush is about 40 meters in front of me. About 30 meters in front is feeder. It's getting dusk. Watching 2 deer nibble on corn in front of feeder. Suddenly they get spooked and run, not a normal spook either, they hauled ass away. Hear guttural horrific roar. Then the smell hits me, a very acidic rotten smell. Something is in the brush in front of me. It moves back and forth, snapping twigs and crunching leaves. Poop my pants.png. This goes on for at least 5 minutes until I can't handle odd unusual feeling of terror and the smell is so bad I'm gagging. Fire into the dirt. Rustling stops. Smell fades away. Feeling of terror starts to leave. Radio Dad and tell him to come get me. Dad shows up in SXSATV. Leave. Dad thinks I encountered a big cat and nothing more. Dad is the most non-superstitious Polish man you will meet. Maybe not spooky, but it is innawoods and it did fill me with existential dread. Be me, 13 years old. Always played army with friends. Had old surplus BDUs and shitty plastic BB guns. We heard there was an old bunker in the woods where we usually play. Decide to go. Pack some stuff for a camping trip. Walk for about a mile into the woods. Found it. Bunker had a cave-in, you could enter through the hole. One of friend's father said that bunkers are dangerous because of carbon dioxide, so we don't enter. But what is this? 2 satchels are in the bunker. But we can't enter to take them. Idea. Let's use a piece of rebar to fish it out. Fish one out. Man, it's heavy. Fish other out. Maybe something cool is in them. Open them. Grenades. Both satchels are filled to the brim with hand grenades. No protection or anything. Just stuffed in. We used a freaking rebar to fish out 4 kilograms of explosives. We collectively shit our pants. We bolted back home. Call dispatch. Dispatcher is clearly not amused with kids calling for a bomb squad. Tells us we'll be in trouble if it's false, but still sends one. Bomb squad arrives. We take them to the bunkers. They freeze the grenades and toss them in the van. Even got to pet the bomb sniffer dog at the end of it. That's my story of how I almost blew myself up. Be me. Be hiking in a woods in Central Florida. Grandma and Grandpa have about 30 acres. Get out from house and follow a deer trail close to a major road. Follow it for 20+ minutes. Find empty beer bottles and trash. Follow like cursed trail of treats. Find homeless camp and stare at it from far away, scared AF but also curious. Naked man walks into view smoking cigarette, staring out into the trees. Oh crap. Don't move. Guy smokes entire cigarette and starts talking to himself out loud about hating his sister and hating the world and hating himself. Goes back into camp. I go home and post on /k/. I got one, but I kind of suck at writing stories in an interesting way, but I'll give it a go. It's an in a desert story though. Be me, a corpsman attached to a Marine infantry unit on an exercise in Yuma, AZ which mostly comprised of air assault and live fire. The company, approximately 200 dudes, is bivouacked near a platoon attack range located up in the hills of Yuma Proving Grounds. It had been about 2 hours after the range went cold, and everyone was preparing to bed down. Pretty uneventful night, which is good because that means I haven't had to take anyone to the hospital. Just chilling listening to Marty Robbins, because why not in the desert? It's about midnight now, and everyone is very much asleep, but in the distance over the hills I hear a thumping sound, one with a pattern and regularity, faint, almost like a heartbeat. The sound is getting slowly louder and closer. I look over to my right and see the doctor I work for who is listening to a podcast. Hey sir, do you hear that too? He nods, and his expression on his face went from surprised to confused. As time passes, the sound gets clearer, and you can begin to hear chanting, aggressive in nature. In the desert, sound seems to travel farther, so it was pretty difficult to tell how far they were at this point. At this point I'm considering waking everyone up, and I've fashioned a spear with my survival knife and a support pole for camouflage netting, and have gone through some effort to mentally prepare myself for what's coming over the hill. Then, as it seems that the party of tribal chants is going to crest the hill, it is gone without a trace. It was seriously the strangest thing I've ever experienced, and I definitely wasn't the only one who heard it. I tried finding one of the guys who was on watch around that time, but I was never able to figure it out who was on that night. Also earlier that night I had killed a rattlesnake, so I was somewhat scared I angered a spirit. Anyway, there wasn't a whole lot specific or exciting to say about Okinawa, but I loved the jungles. Being out there at night and hearing all the wildlife was super cool. When we were doing a field exercise at Jungle Warfare Training Center, I was on radio watch one night, and I picked up an old transmission which sounded like it was from World War II. I didn't really think it would be a prank because who would do that, right? Anyway, my RO explained to me how radio transmissions can bounce around in the ionosphere. Also, some of the guys in the Scout Sniper platoon were telling me how they think the Chinese were listening in on their comms. No idea about that. Anyway, one day we were back on base, just enjoying my expense-free government vacation, and I took a picture of what was left of our smoke pit after a storm. You'll notice there is that weird stuff in the foreground to the left. Perhaps it was ectoplasm? Anyway, I know Okinawa is known to be very haunted from the battle. I had a blast there. Not /K/ related, but it's about my dad. I still live in the town I was born in and I'm almost 30, and my dad still lives here too, and he was also born here. According to the 2010 census we have a population of around 20,000, and he was born in the late 40s, and according to the 1950 census there were only about 1,200 people here, so he's really seen this town grow. He's only shared one spooky story with me a handful of times of something that happened to him, but every time I've heard it from him he gets visibly upset and afraid. When he was about 13 he used to spend a lot of time camping in a field a little south of town. He'd ride his bike with some basic camping stuff a few miles south of town, and just camp overnight, and have fun tromping around the woods before camping overnight, and going home in the morning. This was one of his favorite things to do as a kid. One evening after having fun in the woods he was returning to his camp and he swears he was followed by a headless man with old Timmy clothes. He ran back to his camp and got into his tent, and he watched a headless man emerge from the woods, walk along a trail in the clearing about 100 yards from his tent, and then go back into the woods on the other side of the clearing. He packed his stuff up and rode home as fast as he could and didn't go back for months. Now for a 13-year-old that would be super scary, and the few times he's talked about it with me it still shakes him up. But here's the worst part, about half a mile from where he was at, is the location of where one of the first white settlers of the area was beheaded by Indians in the mid-1800s. To this day his head hasn't been recovered and he's buried without his head in a local cemetery, and there are numerous reports over the past century of people seeing a headless man, wandering the woods and fields around that area. My dad had no idea about any of that until he was in his 30s, and it just freaked him out even more. Honestly, the radio transmission sounds extra spooky and interesting. Radios are pretty neat, that is explainable though. Certain radio bands will bounce around in the ionosphere until you can receive them. At least that's what I'm told by radio operators. I spent 3 weeks at a time or so in a woods/jungle, honestly wasn't too spooky. The desert I've found to be much more ominous. One night I saw a bunch of stuff glowing on dirt and grass. I was less happy to find out it was batshit. Okinawa just had an ominous feeling, not a bad one per se. Also in the jungle there were little shrines everywhere, maybe about every 500 meters or so. It was neat. I wish I could go back. Pic related is from us doing a Jungle Land NAV course. I wish I had more pictures, but I had the juice on my phone plus 2 portable batteries for that 3 weeks. I saw some really cool places towards the end of that exercise. Honestly, the scariest thing about the jungle was moving. We didn't do really any movement at night because it was too dangerous. Hell, during the day you were pulling yourself up with your main pack and all your gear up these 60 to 70 degree slopes, hoping the plant you're holding onto doesn't uproot itself with your weight. The ground was this super slick clay too, and I hated rappelling, haha. Sorry if I'm rambling, I'm just reminiscing at this point. I tried to get permanently assigned there last fall, but I'll be going to my home state, which is for the best. I've got a couple mountain lion stories. This one is my first encounter. Be me. Live in a woods. Mom and sister are hours away at chicken show and dad is at work. Gotta put the sheep/chickens away by myself. Just about done when I see green eye shine using shitty iPhone light. Maybe it's the dog, but I'ma get the shotgun just in case. Drive up to main house and dog is up there. Oh shit. JPG. Load broing auto 5. Wasn't exactly no guns but not all that experienced of a shooter at the time. Also grab high power flashlight. Head back down and look where the eye shine was it. Gone. Shit. MP4. Walk around the chicken coops and see it in some bushes about 15 to 20 feet away. We both just stare at each other for a solid minute. Have shotgun but didn't want to shoot it for some reason. I was maybe around 14 or 15 at the time. Slowly back off and call mom. Wait for dad to get home. He takes a pot shot at it. It runs off. Asshole shows up 2 nights later. Doesn't do much and wanders off a bit later. Again, at that time I was quite young and didn't know all that much about shooting. If that happened today, I would have probably shot it if it had gotten that close. Today I always carry a sidearm and high-powered flashlight on me and look through the tree line when I feed/put away the livestock. It wasn't in a woods but more in a field. Be me 2 years ago at night checking a beaver dam that's almost flooded out yard. Have a light and a Marlin Model 70 with 15 or 17 rounds. Didn't see beaver and was freezing my ass off as it was early-ish January. Started walking back home. See 3 red lights. 2 being about the height of a 6-foot man. 1 being like almost half that. Go towards it. Didn't bother shining a light on it because I had a retard moment. About halfway towards it, the lights went out. Stopped dead in my tracks and booked it to my house. Checked the spot the next day and there wasn't a single tire track. Looked like some vehicle had made the lights, and it hadn't snowed for like a week. I still have no freaking clue what the hell it was. I should have tempted fate and put the bright ass light on it. The light I had could light up an area like 150 yards down. I've got a story that happened to me recently. Last month, I had to go take my compost out to our compost bin at night. For clarity's sake, I live in upstate South Carolina on a large compound property owned by my great-grandma, where several of my uncles and aunts also have homes. We have a backyard area that is for planting where my great-grandpa cut down trees in the area years ago. At the edge of the yard is a forested part of our land with an old trail, and beyond that is more heavily forested land that is owned by the bank or the state, depending on which part. In order to keep animals away from the houses and keep our chickens healthy, The compost bin is on the other side of our growing fields, right on the edge of the forest. So, it's late at night, we have no artificial lighting past our houses, and it's a cloudy night so it's really dark. I take my dog with me to take the compost out, and carry a BB gun to scare away any stray cats who try to sneak into the bin. I'm dumping the food, and my dog is sitting next to me, when I hear rustling in the trees. I'm not worried about it, bears are hibernating, and the deer in our woods would not dare to approach a person with a dog next to them. Much earlier last year, one of my uncles caught either a coyote or a big fox on his trail cam, but I'm not worried about a fox or coyote, until my dog starts whimpering. My dog is very stoic. She only whimpers when she's getting a bath, and the only time she's ever barked is when we found a stray dog fighting with one of my uncle's dogs. So when she starts crying over what should be nothing, I get a little concerned. Then, she barks and runs back to the house. I'm very confused, and look up just in time to see something way too big to be a coyote, too fast to be anything else, go from one break of trees to another. I went back to the house and stayed out of the woods since. I plan on going in some night this month to hunt whatever it was. First time green texting, felt I had to get this off my back to let at least someone hear it. Be me 2 years ago. Parents' own cabin in northern Saskatchewan. Yes, I am northern Connecticut, piss off. Decide I want to spend time by myself up there, parents agree because they want me out of their attic. Been really into X past little while, so I found the idea of being by myself and isolated with whatever is out there in northern forest oddly comforting. Drive up there late November, stocked up on food to last a few months. Leave my phone at home since I only use it for internet related stuff. Cabin has electricity and a dish, no internet, but all my vidya are offline anyway. Bring rifle as well for hunting. Cabin has basic rectangular layout with an extension added on when my sister and I were born, to add extra room for us on vacations there. Mostly made out of wood except for tin roof on extension. Unpack my shit and chill when I show up. Cabin is really close to the tree line, very small clearing it was built on. Others would find this claustrophobic, I find it comforting. Like I said, oddly relaxed when it comes to the vaguely threatening like X. First night I chill and listen to the sounds of animals as I fall asleep, no TV, just relaxing and settling into my new environment. Hear cow moose off in distance, pretty chill. First day, get all my winter clothes on and head out into the woods. Stay close by the trees where the snow is mildly easier to walk through. I don't go out by any major clearings because snow's too deep. Reminded of all the times I walked through these woods as a kid with family. Decide to get out further and travel in parts I never went before. Parents would never tell us where we could and couldn't go, just never got around to it when I was younger. Hear that cow moose off again in the distance. Hell yeah, maybe I can get up close and have a good look at it. Moose are kind of dangerous up here since they're not familiar with people, but I figure I could climb a tree if it charges for some reason. Walk to where the call is coming from. Sound doesn't get any louder, but I figure that it must be walking away from me. Can't find any moose tracks, so I decide it's too far away to even chase after. Only like 7 hours of daylight at this time of year or something, so I start walking back. This is not the kind of place you want to get lost in. Once back home, start to think about the whole thing. Consider myself paranoid, cook dinner, and go to bed. Things went on quietly for the next few weeks. Found a rotting bull moose with all the skin on its head chewed off, explain it away as maggots or other small animals. Tried to go hunting for deer and anything else, but could never find tracks despite all the calls I heard at night, mostly female for some reason. Always tell myself they must just be out further than I usually venture. One day go out and actually manage to snag a small buck. Hell yeah. PNG. Never shot one by myself before, so I have no idea how to take care of the meat. Decide I'd leave it till tomorrow and butcher it when I wake up. Go full retard mode and leave it hanging outside as to not stink up the cabin. Next day go out and there are freaking bites taken out of it. God damn it. JPG. Some animal got to it first and mangled the poor bastard. Really went at it on the head for some reason, all the skin was chewed off. Couldn't recognize the bite marks but decided to stop walking out so far into the woods. Start to wonder how I got a male buck if all the calls I heard were female. I know what calls mean what, and these were more long drawn out indicating female. Paranoia sets in since I get anxious about random bullshit. Quickly make myself forget about it since I promised myself I'd stay for the full few months and not go home early. Next night can't sleep because of anxious thoughts. Insomnia. GIF begin to hear a very slight noise. It was a very quiet night, so I would be able to hear something outside if anything was there. Sound is almost rhythmic but I can't make out what it is. Eventually it gets louder as if the sound itself is frustrated. Realize something must be making it. Sit up and listen to what has now become an audible scratching noise like something being scraped over wood. Sound travels all the way across the cabin, past where I'm sleeping in the extension and all the way around again. The second time it passes the extension it stops right where I am sitting in the bed for just a moment and then continues. This goes on for a few minutes then stops. Pass out from exhaustion. The next day I have to convince myself what happened wasn't a dream. Begin to form an idea in my mind of some intelligent animal. It can't just be a coincidence. In the middle of the day I build up the courage, go outside and see what happened. Scratches in the snow-covered walls, not enough to wreck the wood but enough to see a pattern of scratches that were more than a few feet above the ground as if something did them purposefully. This wasn't just some dumb animal. Finally decide to take a look at my door. The scratches were serious on the wooden door as if someone with gigantic fingernails spent hours scraping at it. Tripping balls on fear at this point. Whatever it was intelligent enough to tell the door was the way in but predatory enough to use circling as an intimidation tactic. Come to the logical conclusion that whatever this was it must have been the same thing that mauled my freaking buck. Finally decide to look at the footprints. Best way to describe them is long bare footprints. Whatever the hell this thing was, it certainly was not a bear. Begin to realize something. There were no footprints around the cabin. Just ones leading up to it and leaving. The thing was climbing around my walls and dragging its nails to create the scratches. Definitely not a bear. Just want to get out of there at this point. Sun starts to go down and storm clouds start moving in. I've been out here for 2 hours just looking at all this shit in awe. Can't leave in blizzard or in the dark, so I lock myself in and get into bed with gun. Mind starts racing when night hits. Wind is howling outside but off in the distance I hear that goddamn cow moose call again. Begin to put 2 and 2 together. Whatever the hell this thing was, it was calling male animals in by mimicking female mating calls. Must have preferred male animals since they have more meat. When I left that goddamn buck outside it could tell I was here. The first full day I spent here and was trailing that cow moose call, it must have been right effing above me in a tree. Train of thought was stopped when I heard that goddamn scratching noise again. I can barely make it out because of the loud ass blizzard, but I recognize it. Either it sees me as an alpha predator rival or as prey, and at this point I don't know which is worse. This goddamn thing is insanely good at climbing because I hear the sounds of feet on a wooden roof. Storm is so loud I can't make out exactly where the feet are on the roof. Just hearing the sounds of feet on wood and snow faintly. Suddenly the sound changes to feet on tin. Right fucking above me. JPG. I can't handle this shit anymore, but I can't leave because that's exactly what it wants. The sounds of banging on tin go on for what feels like hours as the storm rages on. Eventually it goes away, thank God. Blizzard begins to die down too. Can hear things more clearly outside. Was not freaking prepared for what happened next. Hear woman's voice outside. Not making any discernible words. Almost babbling, moaning like it's orgasming. Oh no, you effing don't, you barefoot demon, you're not tricking me like you did all those moose and deer. Sounds very close. At least within the tree line. Grab a big ass flashlight and open one of the unlocked windows. Shine it outside where the sound is coming from. See 7 foot tall, slim, muscular build at first. Then eyes adjust to what I'm looking at. Face is a hideous interpretation of a human's, like if you described to an alien what a person looked like and told them to draw it, then fed the drawing to dogs. Nose was turned up like it was facing directly at me. Eyes weren't sunken like one would suspect. They were bulbous and protruding with gigantic pupils. Eyes looked almost swollen. The best way to describe the mouth was like the one on the mouth of Sauron from Return of the King, round and way too big. Face was shaped like a baboon's face. Very oval-like with a heavy brow ridge. The only difference being was that it was incredibly flat and its forehead was huge. It pulled its lips back to bare its teeth in a predatory fashion. Except all it looked like was as if it was smiling at me. Its hands were a grotesque combination of sloth and human hands. In one of its hands it held the head of a buck. Had all the skin on it chewed off like before. This was a goddamn threat. After getting a good look at it, I take a shot at it. Not sure if I hit it since the flashlight dropped. But I could see it drop the head and run off into the woods. Grabbed the flashlight and pointed it in its direction again and could barely make out the shape of it climbing a tree in seconds and jumping off from one tree to another. Stayed up the rest of the night and left in the morning. Came home early and told my parents I was feeling lonely as an excuse to come back. Never told them about it because they would have accused me of taking drugs. This is probably the only time I'll ever tell this story anyways. I don't believe in magic or forest demons because I'm not a complete retard. I believe what I saw was a grotesque failure of evolution. Some mutated animal that managed to survive long enough out there. Not giving it a stupid name like other autists do when they see shit on this board. I'm never going back to northern Saskatchewan as long as I live. This happened this most recent August. Second weirdest thing I've ever seen in this state, easily the most unsettling. Get 3 days free after doing 24/7 grandpa care for 2 months. Get 2 friends to go in a mountains with me. Leave Friday night in a truck pulling a trailer with 2 4-wheelers. Light finally fades about 10 p.m., mid-August in Alaska. Take it easy on speed because big ol' diesel. Get to the target highway at about midnight. Pavement ends at mile 21-ish. Everything to now has been pretty normal. Couple miles in, road turns left with a small pull-off on the right side. Little Subaru parked there facing into road. LED light Barrett face level.png, there's someone leaning on the hood watching us as we drive by. Tired by this point, not real concerned. Figure it's someone waiting for their hunting buddy, it's caribou season. Keep going. This highway is real rough in the fall. It's gravel. And the heavy fall rains combined with all the fall time hunting and camping traffic tears it up. Going 30 miles per hour if I'm lucky. Truck, trailer, and teeth all going daka from washboards. Nice bright full moon, can miss the worst spots. Hit real long straight stretch before trailhead pull off. Get half-mile down straight stretch, about halfway. Lights in rear view mirror. Freaking bright AF light bar again. This nibba hauling ass. 50 to 60 miles per hour or more. One friend is zonked in the back. The other one is spaced out. Point the light bar car out to him. He watches them in the side mirror, doesn't seem too unsettled. Car is maybe 200 feet back when I finally pull into the trailhead. Car catches up 10 seconds later. Slows down to -5 miles per hour going by, obviously checking us out. Hackles raised. Tif. Park the truck, watch them drive down the highway for a bit. Let out a deep breath. Look to the left at the other corner of this parking area. There's an SUV parked there, NBD. This is where it gets way out of whack. Wake up the other friend, kill the engine, hop out. Instant gut assessment, shit's messed, we're being hunted, time to go. My response to this novel sensation, hey, there's something written on that SUV. Shine my flashlight on it. Moloch. Written in the dust on back windows since it was parked. Oh shit, what? Friends are stretching legs, one has his AR out, they're both too quiet. Check out SUV. Engine still warm, parked within a few hours. Only front passenger door is locked. Shoes/sandals and shorts, comfy driving wear, on front seats. Full packs and compound bow in back. Full cooler. Tent. Everything is untouched. 6mo expired youth group sticker on hood, empty coffee but coffees. Looks like a young couple out to camp. Friends are checking out this SUV. We're all at independently reached 10 out of 10 maximum alert. Look around the whole area, nobody is there. No fresh tracks except in parking area itself. Another pair of cars with LED light bars go by hauling maximum ass. We keep rifles on M from cover as they go by. Given to gut feeling. Leave. Camp 30 miles away on a different highway. Come back in the morning. SUV still there, untouched. Still no sign of anybody around. Terrible gut feeling gone. Take the four-wheelers and go 8 miles back in the mountains. Have a good time camping, get bullied by a caribou. Come back in next day. Nobody was out there, great lines of sight and nowhere to hide. SUV untouched. Food in the back is starting to go off. Get back to town. Call SUV in to troopers. Dispatcher goes, yeah, that's sketchy AF, I'll send someone out. Call back 2 weeks later to see what came of it. No record of having ever called it in, but they have every other call I've made. Sorry/K/. Some stories don't have a good ending. I'm convinced we were getting checked out and the only reason they let us be was because we had our ARs propped up on the seats and very visible. I never have found any explanation for what I saw out there. All I know is that gut feeling I got when I got out of the truck was the spookiest thing I've ever felt, and all three of us felt it independently. There's some messed up shit going on out there, I'm convinced.